This is one of the two storage tubs I have. And this one, and I've already pulled out just a bunch of dwarf water lettuce and duckweed. Look at that. Just wads and wads of that stuff. And there's also a little bit of Ricky water spangle in here. But I am just taking all of this out. And there's at least one guppy in here. And all I can figure is it just hops between the two, because I pulled it, I swear it's the same one out 3 or 4 times now. But look at this mass, or should I say look at this mess. And now it's a soupy mess down below, and it doesn't smell great, which I'm not surprised. They took out a couple pieces of wood that, I don't know if they're decaying or what. There's wads of Java shrimp in here. Java moss in here. I want to save those. There's some right there. Yeah, I want to save those. I don't want to toss that. I'm kind of going through what I got here. I don't see any in there. So I was just throwing bits of that in too. And a little bit of guppy grass that probably found its way over there somehow or another. There's a couple little pots in here. This one, I know the light's not great, but that is pink flamingo cryptocoryne. And there should be a couple other little crypts in here that were in pots. There's another one of those little cryptocorynes in a pot that seems to have escaped out of its pot, and I don't know if it just rotted out or what. I'm trying to fish out another piece of a... Oh wait, that's crypt. That's one of the crypts that I can't remember what the species was. I'll have to go look for it. But there it is. So yay, there's a survivor. That'll go in a little pot once I get this mess cleaned up. But in the meantime, keep it wet, so I just drop it back in here. Looks like Java fern here. A little piece of Java fern. There's green hair algae in here. Stuff is everywhere. There's some... Yeah, there's some of the little crypts. They just couldn't grow. There was no light. Yeah, I know they're supposed to be a low light plant, but not that low. In fact, I don't know how low light they are. I think they're a marginal plant. So what that means, if I'm correct, there's Windalove Java fern. If I'm correct about that, that means they live on the edge of waterways, and they are subject to, bust that piece of stick up. They are subject to being submerged completely, and other times being completely dry or very dry. So I got to get the rest of this stuff out. I'm going to use a net to, I got to go find her though.
You know, if we had 2 Perrys, we could put a net between them and play platypus badminton. Who's a net? Ferb, that's it. I know what we're going to do today. No, seriously, who's a net?
She's around here somewhere. But I'll use a net to scoop out a bunch of this. I'll do a water change. I might even take this thing completely apart. I'll get the little male betta out of here. And if you saw him, he was hiding down here. He's in the pots. There he goes. That's him in the murk. So we'll get him out of there, and then we'll come back and see what this looks like cleaned up. Because this one's not half bad. This one's just guppy grass, a little bit of, I don't even want to stick my finger close to that. That's Salvinia minima and then Riccia water spangles. And there were a couple pieces of duckweed floating on the top. I just netted those out before I started. And there are a shit ton of guppies in here. And there's a little bit of green hair algae right there. And there's more than that. It seems like it's kind of diminished in here. It was really thick at one point. Maybe it just couldn't compete with the guppy grass, which is always a good thing, because I do not like the green hair algae. So remember what Hermione Granger said, swish and flick. Swish and flick. Swish and flick. Because if you dip this thing, it'll all come floating back up out of the net. So I got a lot of it here. One thing you always have to remember is duckweed can get pushed underwater, and then it will tangle up in other plants and eventually resurface its ugly little head. But I'm using this shrimp net. a bigger, wider net might have served me better, but I've got just about all of it now for now. And I don't know if you saw that, how I kind of dipped a little too much, and it pushed, the water pushed it back out of the net. Totally unproductive. A swish and flick. And get most of it that way. There's a bunch in there. Then I'll turn the net inside out. Should have this on a tripod, and I should have been doing a time lapse the whole time. I'll turn the net inside out, tap it here on this bucket full of debris. There's still a little bit there, but that's fine. Push the net back in the same direction that it was, because otherwise everything that's stuck on the net will come right back out in the water. So, you know, there's a little bit, maybe a couple pieces on the outside, but they'll float off. I will get them. And it's a pain in the ass. It's a slow process. The best method of control of duckweed is never to have the shit in the first place. It's awful. So, just about got it now. I think I'll do I don't know. I've got ram's horn snails in here. There's red cherry shrimp in here. There's that betta and a guppy. A male guppy, and I still don't know how he got in here. All I can figure is he jumped over the wall, and then I pulled a lot of the hair algae out of, I went through all the pieces of the Java fern and window love Java fern down here. And there's also, I think it's a bulbitis, this one. And there's some Java fern stuck in it too. Let me get that out of there. I think that's a kind of a bulbitis. Maybe a Borneo fern, one of those. There's another piece of Java fern stuck on the underside of it, but that's okay. Might even be one of those pieces of crypts. And I had a big clump of cryptocoryne in here, like that one in the pot right here. There should have been two, and I don't know where it is. I think it just probably died off, rotted out. So this one seems like it's rooting. I might, well, I don't want to move it. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I want this somewhere else, and it's got snails on it. So I'm going to put this in one of the tanks that I'm doing a snail treatment. I just started a snail treatment in 2 different tanks today. So this will catch the full 3-day regimen. And then hopefully that'll get rid of any snails. I know there's a couple bladder snails in here, but I think they're mostly ram's horns. So I don't know what the little ones are, but I don't want them. I just don't want them. And hopefully I don't have any duckweed on my hands. I try to be real careful not to get it on my hands. You want to rinse from before you go into another tank, and I'm not going to do that right now because I think I'm duckweed free on my hand. So I just started the treatment on this tank with the Blue Dream shrimp and all these tuxedo guppies, and we'll just put that right up front, and hopefully it'll be all right there. And then I'll eventually, I don't know, maybe I'll move it into this tank. I've got peacock gudgeons, little crebensis, and corridor stirbi. I picked up a window love, and I guess I could just pitch those, but I'm so anal about that kind of stuff. I hate tossing plants I do like, and don't have any problems with tossing things I don't, usually. So we'll get that little window love out of there. And there's a bunch of duckweed in that net that's all I was trying to do is save that, put that back in. And then I guess I'll try and clean up some of the mulm on the bottom here. Maybe I've got a little tiny, what do you call them, a gravel vac, so I'll use that to suck up some of the mulm down here. And then we'll put some fresh water in this thing. We'll sort out the pots, see what's left, consider it done for now. You know, I see what I did? I dumped the net trying to get around this airline, and ended up putting a lot of that duckweed that was in the net back into the water. So you got to be careful with that. Now, and I can see a little piece of duckweed underwater, right there. So we can float that back up to the or just pinch it out. There we go. Sometimes that's just as easy. But I think we got it, and it'll be back. And I will do my level best to, there's a piece behind the airline there. And the last thing I want to do is let the airline knock it all out again. But I'll do my level best to keep it out. I would like this tray to be duckweed free. And I guess the other alternative would be to take everything out, rinse all the Java fern off. What I do is fill a bucket of water, and I was selling the dwarf water lettuce back there, and it was in this, and it was also in another tank with duckweed. So I would take a few pieces at a time into a 2-gallon bucket like this, fill a 2-gallon bucket with water about, I don't know, 2/3, 3/4 of the way up, drop them in and splash the pieces of dwarf water lettuce in several times and dislodge duckweed that was in the roots, underneath, between the leaves, whatever. And I did that a couple times, and I'm pretty confident I got most of the duckweed out. I'm hoping I got it all out, because I hate plaguing someone else with duckweed. I'm sure that's where I got it, was on plants that I brought in. So it's never a bad idea to do that yourself, or take plants that you get and quarantine them. You know, I never really thought about it until fairly recently. Quarantine them, get rid of snails. I'm quarantining that big Echinodoris that I got from PetSmart. I potted it up and I stuck it in a tank right when I started the no planaria treatment for the bladder snails. And that tank seems to be snail free now. And I'm hoping that Echinodoris is also snail free, and I can move it into another tank, or just leave it where it is for now. But it'll be snail free now, and hopefully all the tanks on that side, those 4 or 5 gallon tanks with all the shrimp, are going to be snail free, and all the guppy grass. And that way I can actually put snail free on my guppy grass, and ultimately the hornwort I sell as well. And ultimately the dwarf water lettuce that I sell, I can say snail free, and I can even say duckweed free at some point. That's the goal. Sell clean stuff, clean plants, clean fish, clean shrimp, clean livestock, and clean plants. It's important. So I think I got all the green ones I can see floating right now. So we'll call that a hold, and I'll come back after I clean this out, and we'll see what the plants look like that came out. All right, I thought I'd finally put you on a tripod here. And I've got this little, it's a small gravel vac. And we'll see if I can get a siphon started. And I'm just going to dump the water into the bucket with all the plants that I pulled out. That's just going to go into the landscape out there. The water's full of nutrients. The plants will break down and make organic material, mulch. They are organic material. They'll make a mulch and eventually kind of compost into the soil. So if I can get it started here, I'm going to lift it up, get the siphon started, and as soon as water starts coming out the end, which it did, put my finger on it, do it again, and I've got a siphon. So now if I can just pull up a bunch of this mum, probably should start in the back, because I'm going to run out of water way before I run out of mum, and the guppies following me around. I have come to the conclusion that guppies are not the sharpest tools in the shed. You know, you got to love them, but they are not that bright. They'll swim right into the net for you. They'll swim right up the siphon tube. They're curious, and I guess that's okay. And you know, the one thing I'm realizing too, well, if I'm going to suck anything else up, I'm not going to see it in here. Maybe I'll switch buckets, because there are shrimp in here. Then I can pour that water on top of after I kind of look. There's so much that I don't know if there's other stuff plugging it. It's not the greatest of flows. I was really hoping I'd come across that other clump of flamingo cryptocorin. That would be cool, but I think it's nowhere to be found. Usually what I'll do is I'll let this funky water in the bucket sit for a while, settle, and then I'll look for shrimp in it, net them out, drop them back where they belong. Well, there's a lot less crud in the bottom now than there was, so it came loose. There's nothing holding it there. I think I tried super glue, and that only held for a little bit. I just shove it back in, get going again. Fortunately, it's easy to start a siphon, and it beats sucking on the end of the hose. I don't remember who I saw this from. It might have been Corey and Co-op. Somebody had to start one of these without having to suck on it. And yeah, good idea, and thank you whoever that was for that. Nothing like a mouthful of fish water. A lot of that mom comes from the plant material. The dwarf water lettuce is a good source of it, because the roots get really long and they shed roots regularly, and they break down. I don't know if this is deep enough to set Aqua Clear hang-on filters. I'll do that occasionally on the aquariums. I'll set one and just let it run, because it causes enough current and it'll suck up you know, a lot of the crud, and I'll put just one of those filter pads in there, the Dacron, whatever it is, or polyester or whatever. I'll let that run for a couple days, maybe clean it a couple times depending on how bad it is, and it'll suck a lot of that stuff up. It's a great way, and then I'll take it off. So I keep a couple of those around just for that. And maybe we'll do that. We'll see if that'll fit. And let's get you off the tripod. All right, so this is what I pulled out of there. All these had plants in it once, and there's a little one here, and then those two. And I think maybe just due to lack of light, because of the cover, they failed. And then I pulled most all the green hair algae that I could out of this mess. And I know there's another crypt or two in here. And when I find them, I will pot them up in one of these. And then I'm just going to throw all these back in there, let them float around. One of the hardest, oh, look at this. That looks like a little piece of Anubias. Sure does. Then I got another video that I've got planned to do a little experiment using Miracle Grow soil and pond soil. And I'm going to pot up some other crypts I've got in another tank in these same size pots into larger pots. And we'll see if one does better in the pond soil or the Miracle Grow. And then I'll cap them with sand just to keep the soil from washing out and getting all over the water column. And then I'll drop the plants back in for that poor little betta that's all just devastated here because it's all empty. I put that betta in here because it seemed like it was in a 29-gallon with all its brothers and sisters. It's from a spawn that I managed to get about a year ago October. So what is that, 14 months, going on 15 months, something like that? And it seemed like it was having a hard time breaching. And it's pretty too. So anyway, I put it in here, and it's been living in here ever since. And it chases shrimp, and it's going to get that shrimp. Yep, and it is eating that shrimp. Ah! So do bettas eat shrimp? There's your answer to that one. More ram's horns. I sell these on my eBay site too. I think it's like 30 of them for 15 bucks, something like that. Plus shipping, because I ship those in a priority box. So I charge for shipping on those. But it's still a good price. All right, let's put you back on the tripod and we'll put water in this thing. So I'm just going to do the bucket brigade with this, instead of bringing in the hose like I usually do. See how much stuff it's turned up. I want to say these are 41 quart. Yeah, that's right. They are 41 quart flat storage bins from Target. I think maybe one more bucket. Here we go. Now there's these little supports here that support the rim, and the bottom of that's usually what I do my water line, so I'll just run that up a little bit more. Then in the meantime, a little tap water conditioner. I'll do that a little more, won't hurt. There we go. And hopefully this will get me to the right level. And it does, and I'm going to save a little bit of that water. Pour it in here. That way it's already primed. Then I'm going to have to do a little makeshift stuff to level this thing out. I've got these 2 pads in here, and I didn't put this thing in first. I'll put that in. I'll stuff these 2 pads in there. Usually I got one. I'll just sort of offset those. And then I need something to prop that out. Maybe this piece of sponge. Pardon my head. Oh, look what I see, duckweed. Oh, see, I kind of brought some up. Need to find the net. Okay, it's around here somewhere. I always lose my tools right in front of me. And then I'll get these few pieces out, just cause. So they got dislodged from somewhere, bottom, whatever. Now, I don't know if this is gonna work for me or not, but this tube is too long. And I don't want fish to get hurt there. I'm not worried about shrimp getting sucked up. They do all the time. I'm going to plug this in and see what it looks like. See if that's going to work. Because what it does when it draws up, it pushes enough flow out that it tends to cause circulation in the tank. But there's a little guppy in there too that I do not want. So I guess I could put a pre-filter maybe over that end, and that might work. Then I'll just have to clean it. Okay, so, oh, there we go. Got enough room to run that forward. I want that pre-filter to be secure on there, but I'm not happy with the way the angle is here. So I need something a little more rigid than that piece of sponge filter. I don't know what I got. Maybe an actual sponge, a little denser. That may or may not do it. Got wedged in there, because the last thing I want is the water to start coming over the back. Because I've had that happen way too often, and that just doesn't work. So there we go. That pre-filter is, I think it's wedged up there enough where it's going to get clogged first, but it'll keep the fish and shrimp out, and that's the key. And that's got a hell of a flow right now. I'm going to put these back in here. I'll set them on this side for now, and I'm going to put all these in. I'm going to see if I can find the cryptocorynes that were in here. Bulbitis down there. No aquascape in here. Just kind of, it's the idea. It was supposed to be kind of a farm tank, and it just got away from me. And then this filter will go for, oh, I don't know, maybe a day or two. More duckweed, and it could be coming off these pieces of Java fern I'm tossing in here. Highly likely. I need to rinse this out, get the duckweed out of there. But wow, what a difference. All right, well, there it is. Thanks for coming along with me on this one, on this joyride of duckweed removal and one of these tub cleanups. They're very cool little tubs. They work really well for some things. I could see other uses for this. I don't know what they are right now, but I'm pretty sure I can see them. So as always, I appreciate you watching. If I've earned your subscription, please hit the subscribe and the like button, and thanks for looking.